It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. It's Friday. We got a holiday week in front of us, and I thought today would be a fantastic day to have a fun Friday and talk about all the acronyms that were made famous through COVID. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there was quite a few acronyms that came on the end of the day with Ray over this last year. Well, almost a year and a half. Can you believe it? Through this COVID nonsense that were designed to help dealers, to warn dealers against the threats in an ever-changing industry. So without any further ado, let's get on the ClearTouch Interactive board and recap some of those famous acronyms over the last year and a half. The first acronym, ladies and gentlemen, had to do with programs from overreaching OEMs. We know we got these overreaching OEMs out there. They're trying to do crazy things, and I wanted to come up with an acronym that would kind of warn dealers, you know, when they see these overreaching OEMs come, and think about this word, think about this acronym, and it would help them run, right? But remind them, run the other way. And so let me get my ClearTouch Interactive board working here. So a program from an overreaching OEM, you're going to recognize, because it's going to be a massive program, largely incoherent, causing the dealer owner to say the F word while they yearn for something better. So it'll be a massive program, largely incoherent, causing the dealer owners to say the F word while they yearn for something better. Simple way to remember that is, well, let me put the A up here in red so you can see it. Amplify. So think of the word amplify, and that would be a massive program, largely incoherent, causing you to say the F word while you yearn for something better. If you're approached with that, just think of that word and run. The next acronym I want to come up with here, ladies and gentlemen, it has to do with the OEMs too, but this one was like, how do you know an OEM doesn't care about you? I mean, what's in place with this OEM that would make you think, hey, they don't really care about me? Well, here's a simple acronym to help you with that. Let me again get my ClearTouch board working. It would be a hostage program. It would be brazen, abusive, and disadvantageous to the dealership. That's the kind of program they'd have, and that would tell you that the OEM doesn't really care about you. An easy way to remember that is HP bad. HP bad. It's a hostage program, brazen, abusive, disadvantageous to the dealers. So when you get programs presented to you, then you think that's what's going on, just think to yourself, HP bad, and you'll run, right? It's common sense. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a pretty crazy world out there. You know, these OEMs are consolidating, doing some crazy things, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on the dealer folks. But when you find yourselves in a position with an OEM that you're not really happy with, and you start realizing that you're not the only one. In other words, there's hundreds of dealers all over the world that aren't really happy with this particular OEM, if this is the case, right? So what do you got to do? What do you got to do as a united front? Well, it's simple. Again, let me get my board working here. What you got to do, ladies and gentlemen, is you got to stand together opposing programs, hyper-intrusive protocols. If these programs have hyper-intrusive protocols demanding all kinds of data and all that kind of stuff, you got to stand together. And so what you got to do, a simple way to remember that is stop HP. Stop HP would be the acronym for that. Stand together, opposing programs with hyper-intrusive protocols. We don't need that. Stop it. It's up to you. You can do it if you stand together. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you, it's been a crazy year through COVID, right? Crazy year through COVID. A lot of changes coming. A lot of changes coming. You know, I did another acronym. This acronym had to do with the Vaporware. You know, we got a lot of Vaporware out there. All kinds of people trying to sell software, coming up with new reinventions, trying to reinvent something that works just fine. There's a lot of that going on out there. But when you run into these Vaporwares, you got to be really careful. You got to be really careful if you decide to deploy them, because if you deploy them and they wasted a bunch of time, that's not going to help you. If you deployed them and you don't really get anything out of it other than what you already had from the one you replaced, that's not good either. So I put this acronym together for everybody in that case. It's simple. Let me get my board running. Most people that get into Vaporware, this is what happens. They found out replacement had zero advantage. They just found out the replacement had zero advantage. It was a bunch of wasted time. So what did they do? They went back to the original. You don't have time to that. You don't have time to get into things just to go back. You got to pay attention to what you really need to be focused on going forward. Don't waste time. We're in a critical change in our industry, and we don't have time to be wasting. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are some acronyms. There's one more. Let me put this one up here. You know, a lot of times, whether you're an OEM or whether you're a dealer, you know, there's a lot of folks out there chasing squirrels. We know the old saying, stop chasing squirrels. We see some OEMs buying up all kinds of different things, trying to diversify way past their capabilities to actually deliver to the marketplace. And what happens when that happens? It turns out to be a disaster. They could lose hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, it could be a mess, right? And so I put this acronym together to let people, pay attention. You can't be chasing squirrels, Before you decide to do something, well, let me just get my pen working. Before you decide to do something, you got to be knowing the market, folks. You got to know the market. That's where the M goes. Before selling. Knowing your market before selling. Knowing your market before you chase some squirrel and add something to your portfolio. And the acronym for this is simple, KMBS. KMBS. That reminds me, KMBS, that kind of reminds me of something. I want you all to, tune in Monday, because on Monday's episode, I'm going to talk about Konica Minolta. Now, we all heard the big news, right? Konica Minolta selling off the direct operations. Looks like deja vu from Rico's 2017 scenario. It'll be interesting to see what Konica does with that. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on that on Monday. But in closing, my friends, it is the holiday weekend. It is the Easter weekend holiday. And you know what? I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one watching this that cannot wait to bite the head off a chocolate bunny. So without any further ado, my friends, remember this: status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all on Monday.